Hello everybody, welcome back. So let's have a look at FET AI. So back in January or thereabouts, we made an epic trade on this one, from the entry point to the exit point was about 9x, and I took half the profit. So obviously, leaving an enormous amount still riding. Why not? Why not? The trade was a very simple one, telling us to get in and out using the Ichimoku cloud. And with that same kind of strategy, we try to apply it again, but it's not going to be as clear cut as the last one. But we are having what would appear to be a nice signal brewing at the moment. If we were to close a candle body above this cloud today on the Bitcoin pairing, that would be not on Tether. So that would need to close above. We'll call it for safety reasons 915, 920 sats thereabouts. So if we get a candle body close around there, it would lend itself to a large move, not a continuation, for an indefinite trend, but definitely a big move should come, and it would be a move I would imagine should hit a previous level of support resistance. Now there's a couple of levels over here that have already been tagged, basically being 1,500, 1,050 sats, but a move brewing with this kind of signal would lend itself to a larger one. To be honest, I would expect to see a larger move, so it might take us all the way up to around 1,150 sats. It sounds a bit mad to say that that's where we're going to hit, and again, if we measure it, and this is just on the Bitcoin pairing, it would be a move of about 23%, 24%. So it's not the biggest move in the world, but reclaiming a zone like that, if it were to manage to reclaim it, I'm not saying that it would, but if it were to, it would spark a decent continuation on this, and actually start to make a really good, strong, and aggressive uptrend. This chart has interested me on these two pumps here because they were both determined with a very specific signal using the Ichimoku cloud, but not this type of signal that we're doing now. This was a trend form and continue. This was a trend form and continue with both entry and exit points, whereas this one's just a pump. But if we also look at the way that this is working this time around, this is a much healthier, well, I say healthier, in the realms of a small cap, or I suppose it's a mid cap altcoin. It's a lot healthier than the previous one, which is a sharp sell-off into the depths of despair, in fact even putting in new lows, versus Bitcoin. Obviously that wouldn't have been the case with Tether, but it was a pretty nasty collapse. So this looks like a double peak kind of vibe going on, with a nice consolidation which looks like it's already ended, and if we get this closure above that zone, we will then have like I say, have a big move, and if we can reclaim that area, I'll be more than interested. Now obviously I'm holding a fair bit of this still, quite a bit of it still from that previous trade where I picked it up about 5.5 cents. So when you get an entry point that low, you might as well just leave it, because for me, every time it goes up 5.5 cents, I've basically doubled my investment. So it's nice to be in at the bottom of something that potentially could do really big moves, like maybe not as aggressive as Matic, but over time it wouldn't surprise me if it did end up doing something like that. But then again, that's just speculative. It's not based on anything. FET is, as far as fundamentals are concerned, relatively strong, and they seem to have enough sense about them to not basically try to pump the price with stupidness. It seems to have a lot of integrity, and I think they're British as well, which doesn't mean anything, right? So on the 4 hourly here, we've got our golden cross. A golden cross formed this time, and we're surfing the centre of this Bollinger Band. Quite an aggressive uptrend already from here. And on the daily, we never got a death cross on the daily, so that's something worth noting. On the 4 hourly, on Bitcoin pairing, we've also got ourselves a nice golden cross as well, more or less surfing the green 50 exponential. So the two charts are kind of two in the same, more or less doing the same thing on the 4 hourly. The battle for pretty much everything, including Bitcoin, is being fought on the 4 hourly. Now Bitcoin could obviously drop and wreck any kind of setup, and this is why I'm always hesitant to talk about altcoins during this period, unless there's something worth talking about, because Bitcoin is moving the market itself. So most of these altcoins wouldn't be able to do their own thing if it wasn't for Bitcoin being, I wouldn't say healthy, but at least not continuing into a bear market, which it still might do, but things are turning around for Bitcoin based upon the 4 hourly as well. So Golden Cross just formed yesterday on the 4 hourly, and an uptrend could quite easily kick in for Bitcoin. So I'm quite hopeful for the market's overall health. Altcoins for me are a bit of a no-go generally, because the Bitcoin dominance is quite low and it's finding a decent bounce, and it's likely to, in my opinion, going to go up towards 60% dominant. Might not get that high, and it's at that point where we should start to see some really good strong alt season type vibes going on, but until then the market is just generally going to move as one, and I expect that Bitcoin will outperform the vast majority of altcoins. But with a chart that looks relatively strong like FET, I think FET is going to start to creep up on its own. Creep up. If we get that signal, then it'll have a big explosion up. Whether it sustains its price when it gets there is a different story, but I think it's going to have an explosion up based on that daily there, and move up to that level that we've spoken about, and if we do reclaim that, then it will go, I reckon, into a nice savage uptrend, and we will start to see areas previously seen on the tether pairing get charted and mapped out. So you can already see this wick came up to this level of rejection here. So we've got these two candles, close and open here, open and close, 41 cents, that's where we met there. So that is clearly our resistance on tether to break from, and if we manage to do that, that would be great. After then, if we flip that to support, fair enough. We go back in time long enough, we can see that there was a decent support over here around 44 resistance 44, and then just above there is the starting price, which is just short of 50 cents, and all of these levels are going to offer some kind of resistance, but once we reclaim this area, in my opinion, then it will start to form technically a new type of uptrend from a higher level. And for me, this would be really interesting, quite exciting really, because like I say, every time it goes up 5.5 cents, that's another double of my investment. So I'm quite happy to leave this to ride, and but for the moment we've got to wait for that candle body closure to get that initial pump, and if the pump breaks there and holds above from this one, or even this one, or even this one, then a really savage uptrend is primed, especially for when Bitcoin dominance reaches that support level, which I might as well show you. I'll just go now, just for those who don't watch my channel, I might as well show you what I'm talking about. The Bitcoin dominance chart is pretty simple, and it's a matter of support and resistance in its own right, and alt seasons take place when Bitcoin dominance meets a significant resistance and gets rejected. There's an alternation of market cap usually coming out of Bitcoin into altcoins, and this is like how it's always been, and the next area I would say would be 52 to potentially between 57 and about 58.5. So we've still got plenty of time, and I'm not expecting alt seasons to happen anytime soon. I can't give you a time frame of when it would happen, but I could offer a small tidbit of where it's likely to take place, which is based upon support and resistance on here. Now there's one thing that I might as well look at while we're here, which is the total market cap excluding Bitcoin, which is looking better than it was a few weeks ago, where we're coming down to test this level of support here. And if this were to have broken, it would have meant that altcoins would have seen a significant dump. And this is one of the things that we're still not out of the woods yet. You know, there's quite could easily happen. Whether this comes out of altcoins and goes into Bitcoin, or if the market corrects even further, doesn't really matter how it happens, but the chart would suggest that if we break down below here and close candle bodies below here, there is every chance that we will lose about 200 billion from the altcoin market. Now, as it stands as of today, it doesn't look like that's likely to happen, and if this proves to be a decent support, which it is a support, whether it's decent or not I couldn't really say, but if it proves to be a support, then altcoins will rally anyway, or they will go up in value anyway, whether you call that an alt season or not. I believe that Bitcoin will take the market with it, but most altcoins will lag behind. But in the case of FET, it seems to have a head start on a lot of others that I generally look at. Now, I don't look at every single altcoin in the world. It's impossible. I have a handful, maybe 10, maybe probably about 20 now that I really kind of just focus on. I can look at any chart really, and give my 2 cents on what I think is going to happen for it. But I always find it's better to have a handful that you really like, that you kind of recognise the chart patterns and the way it's behaved in the past, and like you would do, with a mate, one of your best friends or whatever. You know how they're going to react in a certain situation. You've known them your whole life, and And it's like that. These charts I've known for a long time, so I know how they like to move up and down. Even in an uptrend, they can go up and down, and I'm prepared for all of that. Which is one of the reasons I decided to keep half of this investment riding, because previously we had a giant peak, but versus Tether, it still came down to double where the entry point would have been prior to that. So more or less kind of worked out the same way. We came all the way up and all the way back down to this level, which is, well, just short of triple where my investment was. It's a hell of a retrace, I have to say, but still it worked out the same as it did before. So nice signal bought here, short here. Signal was around $5.5 cents, all the way up down to about 15 cents. So it's still performing the same rhythm on the Tether pairing. So with or without a similar kind of buy signal on this, I think that this is where the bottom is. And if that is the case, it's good for me, because I can allow for my remaining investment. I'm not going to be buying any more of it, but my remaining investment to continue to ride up on this one. But anyway, like I say, this isn't the same as the first signal that we got at the beginning of this, which is a plain old simple Ichimoku conversion baseline cloud. Cross above the cloud, all three triggers met, and sail it all the way until the cheeky span touched the price action, and we sliced ourselves from the entry point to the exit point. It was about, well, I can't remember exactly, but it was between 7 and 9x anyway in a period of months. But like I say, this is a different type of vibe going on right now. It's not the same thing. It's based upon the Satoshi pairing, and but overall, I like the way it looks, and I actually think that FET is going to do a ripping move this year, like absolutely ripping move. Just because it's ahead of a lot of others, it's got a decent chart already, and if this is the end of the consolidation, we're going straight into an uptrend at this point now. Whenever Bitcoin actually reaches that rejection point on the dominance chart, that will lend itself to something like this, really going for it. But again, I'm not buying any more. I'm no financial advisor. I'm not suggesting anybody else buy it. It's just an observation as of today's candle and where it closes. If a candle closes like this, I would give it a week before it tries to test to the upside, which would be, like I say, just another measly 24% move on Bitcoin pairing. So can't really complain with any kind of move of 20-odd%. But yeah, this isn't versus Tether, so we don't know what it would do versus Tether, but that's what it would do in my expectation of how this chart should perform. If we close this candle here, that's the key. We have to close the candle above this cloud, and we should get that. To be honest with you, we also need to close this Chiku span above this cloud. So really, we have to close the candle body out of the price that we are right now. So 952 sats ideally. Ichicloud gives you a really good signals, always really good signals, but you have to have full confirmation. So if we close here, that would be great, and I would expect a big move, in the next week or two. Anyway, I'm going to leave it with you there. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.